So, you're going to make me an espresso.
Yes, so when we make an espresso, we want to make sure everything's clean. Cleaning out the basket here, and the machine's clean. Notice I'm going to turn the grinder on now, so we want freshly ground coffee.
So what is that grinding at the moment?
That's one of our blends that we have at Clifton Coffee. It's a Fair Trade Organic and Rainforest Alliance blend. So, very much an ethical coffee. If we grind coffee fresh, we suddenly need to worry about getting the right amount of coffee in the handle. So here I'm putting a little bit too much in. I'll use the lid and scrape it. You know, if you're doing espresso at home, I mean, it's not going to be quite the same as, you know, the same sort of equipment that we use or that you see in cafes and things. But you can, a good starting point is to get some scales and start measuring, like dosing your beans and things like that.
Is that just so that you're consistent?
Yes. The amount of coffee you use needs to be consistent. How you tamp it in the handle needs to be consistent. And the only thing that really changes is how you grind the coffee. So if you grind the coffee finer, the water will go through that slower. If you grind it coarser, the water will go through quicker. You can see here it's going a little bit too fast still. See how it's sort of flowing a bit? We don't want it to look like that. You want it to look like honey drizzling or olive oil pouring. So we'll make another one, and we'll make an adjustment to the grind.
When you say an adjustment to the grind?
So we're going to grind the coffee
Finer.
Now the thing with the grind is it's unbelievably sensitive. So we just want to tweak it really, and it's much better just to tweak the coffee in the direction you want it to go. So move that just a few millimetres. Espresso is all about the grind of the coffee. You can see how fine it is compared to other brewing methods. That's really fine. And because we're grinding it so fine, that's how we make espresso so fast. Because it extracts the coffee so much quicker.
Because you've increased the surface area of the coffee.
Yeah. That's sort of one of the problems of espresso. Because we're brewing it so fast, it can so easily go wrong. So in order for the water to go through this coffee now, because it's so fine, we have to use a really high-pressured machine. So if we have a look here, when we brew espresso, we're brewing at 9 bar, which is about 3 times higher than the sort of pressure that would come out of your tap.
Yes.
Let's have a look how that small grind's affected the coffee flow. You can see that now, it looks much better, like honey drizzling, olive oil pouring. It's extracting more flavours. So we're really trying to find the sweet spot in coffee. And that sweet spot is usually if the brew takes somewhere between 20 and 30 seconds.
So that'll be a stronger coffee than that?
That's right. That one will probably be a bit sour. In fact, it's just gone over 30. So you can see that very small change that we made to the grind has had that quite big an impact on the brewing. So this one will probably taste sour, and this one will taste richer, stronger, more balanced probably. Have a taste.
Smoother.
I know which one I prefer.
That's definitely smoother.
So to make foam, we need to put air in the milk. The key is to put all the air in as early as possible in the whole process. And we put air in by bringing the steam arm to the surface, and you have to listen. Yeah? We don't want big bubbles, but we want a gentle hissing slurpy sound, a bit like when you go to the dentist, the sucky thing that the hygienist holds.
Yes.
That's the sound we want. So we also want to make the milk churn around and spin around the entire time. So here we go. Nice bit of foaming at the beginning. And let's stop that foaming now and just keep it mixing. So that's probably a lot less than you might have noticed when you're out and about. The amount of air we put in. And so many people put in far too much air and they just make the milk go all bubbly. As soon as we finish steaming, got to wipe the steam wand. All sorts of horrible things happen to people that leave milk on there. See how the milk's gone nice and glossy and shiny?
It has, isn't it? And it looks very, it's like a texture.
Yeah. Gentle taps to get rid of any bubbles left on the surface.
And you've got a temperature gauge there?
Yeah, so this one's ended up being 150 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is the temperature that I would serve a coffee at. So we pour it nice and gently in the middle. Get closer. Sort of think of a heart in your head.
There we go.
It's all about visualization.
That looks great. But the latte art has a purpose, I guess, as well.
Well, it makes, you know...
You can't do it unless you've got your milk right.
The milk's got to be right for latte art, not the coffee. Some people used to think the coffee needs to be right. You could do latte art on tea. But let's have a quick look. So the thing here is not really the patterns, but it's the foam.
Yeah.
It's brown. So we've got the foam to mix with the coffee, so it's going to taste really good and coffee-like. If we had held the foam back and then scraped it all on at the end, we'd have just ended up with a white clump of foam on the top, and that wouldn't have given any coffee flavours at all. So if we can pour it in before it separates, it will separate in the cup, and then all the foam will mix with the coffee. And then the pattern's just a bonus. If we have a look here, there's the one we poured first. You can't even actually see the milk yet. It's still all blended together, but really going to be nice. And this one, there's the milk there. So less foam. So more foam comes out first, less foam comes out second. So when we free pour, we can't judge the amount of foam by pouring it to a certain level and then scraping the foam on top. We have to understand how much foam we've got in the jug and then pour it. The basic rules that more foam comes out first. Have a taste.
Thank you.
How does it feel?
It's that mouthfeel. It's that lovely, soft, smooth, and you get the flavour as well.
And the temperature?
It's quite warm. It's quite warm, but I guess the milk must hang on to the temperature.
My serving temp. This is how I'd serve it at 150. If I was just going to make myself one to drink now, I'd drop that down to somewhere between 130 and 140. And there is a bit of a balance. The maximum temperature you want to go to is 160. And past that, you really lose all the nice flavours of the milk. But you make it worse than that, and you start burning the milk. And you introduce lots of horrible flavours.
Caramel-type flavours.
Caramel's probably the wrong word. Like baby
Burn.
sick.
So Ed, I want to add flavour to my coffee. Currently, I'd like to try toffee actually, because that's a very popular flavour. When's the best time to do it?
Well, and how much? So let's experiment now. And if you really when to add it in, it's my personal choice is to add it in at the beginning, so that everything mixes together. The coffee, the syrup, the milk, the foam. We want all of those ingredients to be mixed, and then we'll get a nice balanced taste profile when we drink it. But let's add one now, and we'll add one at the end and see what effect that has on the drink. And the amount, we're just going to start off with a single shot. So just under 25 mils there. It's quite a small cup, so we might find that's too much. But it's only by experimenting and tasting that we can find this out. I mean, basically, we want a balance of coffee and toffee.
Yes.
We don't want to just taste toffee, and we don't want to just taste coffee.
No, I like toffee, but I don't like too much toffee. And also the sweetness. Because at the end of the day, this has got to be personal taste for the individual.
Yeah, that's right. But it's always important to have a starting point, and that point would be where the drink is most balanced.
And I guess, like your coffee, too much temperature and what have you can affect the flavours. I find that too much heat burns off the nicer flavours.
Okay, well, that's sort of new territory to me, what happens to the sort of syrups if you make them too hot. But
do you find that temperature also affects flavour generally?
Yeah, well, what happens is it affects your taste buds as well. So good coffee gets better as it cools down. Bad coffee gets worse. So
we've made our shots.
milk, gentle foaming at the beginning. Introducing the air, and we want to get that stage out of the way as quickly as possible. This time we'll do it a little bit cooler. So there. So when you can't touch the jug anymore with your hand, if you don't have a thermometer, that's pretty much a good indication that it's going to be a nice temperature in the drink. Okay, so this one's got our syrup added, and this one hasn't. If you go somewhere and you see someone banging away, that's good. They know what good milk is. Just not very good at doing it.
Yes.
But, okay, so here we've got the toffee and the coffee. So let's add the milk. And the idea is we want everything to mix together.
So rather than stir it, we've got it all mixed in one go.
That's right. There we go. And then what with this one, we'll add the syrup in at the end.
There's your shots.
There we go.
I'll let you put that in. Now, syrup is denser than coffee, so that's probably
going to run
at the
straight to the bottom. Well, let's give this one, let's give it a quick stir. We'll give them a taste, see what you think.
Taste. There we go.
What we want to look for is, can you taste coffee and toffee?
I always think the smell is the precursor. That smells very nice and cut. No, I can't smell toffee in that one. Yeah. Yeah, I can smell toffee on that one. Very Yeah, very good.
Is it balanced? That's the key.
That's nice.
And the temperature's right there for tasting maximum flavours. And the best flavours in the milk come out at this temperature as well.
I can taste it, but not in the same way as I can taste that.
It's almost like it's not combined.
It's not combined, is it?
So there's a bit of coffee and then there's a bit of toffee. This is very much...
So we're with you, putting the syrup in first.